Comes first. I am Christ. I am disciple. You're watching my channel. If you like what you see, you can like, share, and subscribe. This stream is brought to you and sponsored by LIVE Products. LIVE, live now. We're live now. We have a range of products. We have fruit drinks. We have cleaning products. And we also have punches. To order, you can call 319-4788. You have to be in the Trinidad and Tobago area. All right. As you can see, this stream is going to be on knowledge. Knowledge. I'm going to start it off with something from Twitter. I'm sorry, from Vero. I'm going to start it off with something from Vero. But before I do that, I would just like to give a shout out to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. The CEO Alliance for Mental Health shares concerns and reported plans to significantly reduce the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, that is SAMHSA. As the government is downsizing on things, it's cutting costs to different areas. It looks like they're also going to be cutting the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration's budget. So that is a significant thing that I just want to report. That means they will be depending on donations from the community. So guys, don't be afraid to donate to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. That is afsp.org. I thought I would put this in front of everybody right now so you guys can support. If you haven't supported before, please do. I also would like to give a shout out to South Cali guy who's just been, he's just been doing it in spades. Here is a report from Otakuk Art. And from Otakuk Art, it says, DC fans want Henry Cavill back as Superman. Will it happen? And that was posted this morning. Superman's future in the DC universe. Can Henry Cavill make a return? Don't know. Will it? He says. Shout out to South Cali Guy 87. Okay. So let's get into what we're going to talk about. And I use Restore the Snyderverse hashtag because Zack Snyder posted up on Vero, and I'm at the post right now, an interview by Vanity Fair with Michael Shannon. And I really like what he says. It's really the content that I really care about here. Even though, again, Zack Snyder says Michael Shannon's a good dude, but, and he's an excellent actor, of course. And Michael Shannon's a guy that really, how do I put it? He doesn't really like doing comic book movies, okay? You won't see him in comic book movies. The only comic book movie he was in was Man of Steel. And he's going to tell you the motivation for it and why he actually did it, okay? So let's get into it right here.
Stole the registry's codex and stored it in the capsule that brought you here. For what purpose? So that Krypton can live again. I would argue that Man of Steel is, in a way, a significant story, like culturally, not just an entertainment thing. Because at the end of the day, what it was about a civilization, right, that ruins their own planet.
Pause.
I've never heard of that before. And then decides, well, the solution to that is to go to another planet and take it, and then we'll just go live there. And I thought, yeah, this story is important. It was a totally different take on Zod. Terrence Sandwich is mean. He was just being mean to everybody. And so I was like, look, my job is to protect my civilization. Like that speech that he has, and now I have no people. Like, I thought that was, like, beautiful and heartbreaking. But I also just like Zack so much. I really, really like Zack Snyder a lot. Stole the registry's codex and stored it in the capsule that brought you here. For what purpose? So that Krypton can live again. I would argue that...
Okay. So that's a mouthful, he said. And that's what I like about Zack Snyder's films as well. And, the projects he takes on, they're not just, the thing with Zack is he's not just doing a comic book movie. Okay, Christopher Nolan did The Dark Knight, right? He did Batman Begins, he did The Dark Knight Rises. And, people talk about the allegories between that and 9/11 and a post 9/11 world. That's cool. but it's still not deep. What Zach is speaking on, and what the great David Goyer, I applaud him, was writing about, is something happening right now. It's very, very real. And I'm sure all of you can. And this film was done 12 years ago. Well, it will be 12 years ago in June. And the thing about it that gets my attention, that really gets me, is that they destroyed their civilization. They destroyed their world. And here they are coming to another world to do what? Destroy it so that they could build their world. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Now, how many of you guys understand that that happens on a regular in the world today? Right? Think about what I'm saying. You know? Think about this. People like Elon Musk, people like Soros, etc., etc. The elites who want to go to Mars and inhabit Mars or inhabit some other planet and colonize it. Think about what I'm saying now. You can't even, you're destroying this world right now. We are destroying our world, right? We're contaminating it, we're polluting it. We cut down trees without any regard to nature. We don't care about the balance. If we don't care about our civilization. We've destroyed other civilizations and tribes and people who have been living in balance with the land and with the surrounding, with the environment, who had that reverence and respect for the balance. We're destroying everything, right? I remember in The Matrix particularly, that Smith did a little soliloquy or speech to Morpheus. And then he says, I've had an epiphany. You humans, you're not animals. No. You multiply and multiply and multiply, and you consume everything around you. After that's destroyed, you move to another area and repeat the process all over again. Now, I'm not saying that's how human beings are. I know this is a very depressing way of looking at human beings, a very evil way of looking at human beings. But the society we live in today is based on greed. People at the top suck out all the resources. They kill, create wars to get resources from other countries. There's no regard. There's a lot of pollution. There's a lot of waste. There's no regard for civilizations, people, animals. There's some regard. You hear the rhetoric around the world, but there's no precautions. You know, if we destroy all the world's forests, if we continue at this rate, we're going to destroy the planet, right? And this is a predominant civilization. We're talking about westernization does this mostly, right? Okay, capitalism, westernization. And you've had this practice of just draining all the resources. That's something. You have not practiced to maintain the planet you're on and have it exist. You're ready to move to another planet and destroy it. You get what I'm saying? If we can't even address having a balance and living in peace on this planet, why the hell would we want to go to another planet and destroy it? And that logic is what Michael Shannon is talking about with General Zod. They destroyed Krypton. Now here they are coming to Earth, and they're going to destroy Earth to build a Krypton, which may become destroyed in the future because they never addressed the problem of why Krypton even got destroyed in the first place. Right? From what we know, they harvest the core of the Earth, the Krypton, and that's why Krypton's core became unstable and it was destroyed, meaning they exploited the resources, greed. They exploited the resources. The corruption and greed led to the destruction of Krypton. And I'm saying this to say, this is the same thing happening here. And that's why Michael Shannon is saying, where have I don't think I've ever heard that before. Being sarcastic, right? Okay. So, and then so many other instances, Israel right now, what it's doing to Palestine, the Congo, Sudan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Countries taking over terrain and claiming it as their own because, they want to expand or they need an excuse because they're not good at leading the things that they already have. Okay, let me, or they depleted the resources they had, whatever. So now taking that into context, this is why I have Restore the Snyderverse there. And Zack Snyder, of course, responded to Michael Shannon, a good dude. I want to show you guys a little something extra, okay? I want to show you guys a little something extra. So I'm in Instagram. If you guys want to, you can go check out this guy, Malik Blade. He's also known as Ascension Rise. And let's just get it popping.
From the beginning, there was never any war between the United States and the Soviet Union. It was created by those at the top to fund the New World Order and the New World Order's police force. At the highest levels of all countries, they all belong to the same club. And we, the people, sit back and we watch this grand drama, which is being played out for our benefit, not theirs. If it wasn't for us, they wouldn't even have to do any of this. But you see, they just can't come out and destroy all of us because they need slaves. They need people to make their shoes, and make their cars, and mine the ore. They need worker bees, and that's what we are. In the New World Order, we would be the worker bees, the slaves. Most people are no better than animals who do not have intelligence because they don't use their intelligence. And to these men who control things behind the scenes, you are stakes on the table by choice and consent, and will always be ruled and manipulated and enslaved by people who do use their brains. From the beginning, there was never any war between the United States and the Soviet Union. It was creepy.
Our banks were given to us by the Knights Templars, the Masonic Lodge of Knights Templars in Europe. Our educational institutions, universities and colleges were given to us by the Masonic Order coming out of Rome. This is why the square martyr board is a Catholic symbol. And Jews, how many Jews know that when you wear a yarmulke, that's not Jewish, it's Roman? That's why the Pope wears a yarmulke. That's why the cardinals wear the yarmulke. It's a Roman symbol, it's not Jewish. The Jews were told to wear the yarmulke to show subjection to Rome. And they got so used to using it, they think it's a Jewish symbol. It's not Jewish, it's Roman. So many people willingly bend themselves to what their masters want from them. What your masters want is for you to be in compliance, for you to think what they have told you to think. Our banks were given to us by the Knights Templars, the Masonic Lodge of Knights Templars in Europe.
I don't understand why you.
Our banks were given to us.
I don't understand why you have to pay to live on a planet you were born on. And I mean, it's such a simple question, and it's haunted me ever since. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Ask yourself that question. Why do we have to pay to live on a planet we were born on? And who are we actually paying for the privilege of being alive here? Who made them the boss? Who put them in charge? You know? Think about that. We're looking at a war over water, when instead of feeding the military-industrial complex, we could be building desalination plants all over the world so everybody could have water, so they could grow crops. But are we doing it? Hell no. Why would we want to do that? Why would we want to empower people to grow food and take care of themselves? Then we can't control them. This is what I'm talking about. I don't understand why you have to pay to live on a planet you were born on.
These children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world.
The younger the soul, the more innocent the soul, because it had less chance to sin. So the more innocent the soul that they sacrifice, the more power in the sacrifice. And that was told to me, again, by a practicing Satanist. When they kill the child and they've brought them to total fear, if they eat the flesh, then they, of course, acquire the child's awareness, his uniqueness, his IQ, his courage, his whatever.
These children are not just kidnapped. They create chaos, and they create control.
Over the world headquarters in Switzerland of the World Masonic Headquarters for World Freemasonry, over the door is Ordo ab Chao, which is Latin for order out of chaos. And all Freemasons know that term, Ordo ab Chao. Order out of chaos. The concept is to create chaos, to create the problems. Then while the people are frightened to death of all the crime and everything that seems to be out of control, a riotous situation, the government then moves in with justification. In order to put down this terrible chaos, they must have full power of the military, full obedience of the people to give the government full power to do whatever they want. That's why we're having all over the world wars, riots, bloodshed, famines, all kinds of things happening around the world. It's being manipulated. It's being orchestrated, not just for Los Angeles.
Conflict control.
Conflict control.
There's been more wars since the creation of the United Nations. They create chaos, and they create control.
Over the world.
The first siege with imagination is that they tell you guns kill people, therefore take away the guns. Then they create a fake event, a mass shooting, which is staged. They already have the emergency crews on hand. They already have the whole thing lined up. The cover-up is already in place. They manage the event. They control the media. They black out people's cell phones. People don't understand why they're not getting a signal. It's an EMP block. This is the kind of stuff they actually do. So nobody can be taking pictures and filming it while it's happening. Then the event happens and everybody's traumatized, and then they release the coded phrase. They say, guns are the problem. Guns are the reason why these people died. Therefore, we need to take away the guns. And then everybody says, oh, yes, thank God. Take away all the guns. This will never happen again. Every single fascist overthrow of a country in history started with some form of confiscation of the tools that the people had to protect themselves. We do expect there's going to be a blackout. We do expect that all the power is going to go off for a while. During the time that the power goes out, there very likely will be military operations taking place in all of the major American cities. Those operations will most likely be occurring in places where this financial cabal is concentrated the most, and you can kind of interpolate from that what I'm saying. It is very likely that the lights will not be turned back on until the operation has been completed. The first siege with imagination is that they tell you guns kill people, therefore take away the guns.
We are in control because basically we are not a political organization. We are an occult organization. We're working behind the scenes to manipulate the way that people think. The war that we are waging is a guerrilla war on the human mind. And we use musical frequencies, the dominant frequency, which I've referred to before, and symbolism and imagery to awaken dormant aspects of the human mind. And what we're waging is a cultural war right now on every front, in music, in literature, utilizing the media against itself. And we're using music because that's the instrument that young people respond to right now. We're doing propaganda directly to awaken the wolf in man. Politics is merely the puppet show of human beings, and we transcend that, but we are interested in the control of human beings for our own purpose. We have no concern for the homeless, particularly. We don't have any concern in helping people. As Adolf Hitler said, we seek to bring about a youth that has closed its heart to pity. All of the humanist values that Judeo-Christianity has encouraged, we want to wipe them out. It's led to democracy, social humanism, the idea of equality. All of this filth has to be wiped out if the human race is going to continue to take the next step in evolution. We're only seeking individuals who are competent and who are willing to take action. We are in control because basically we are not a political.
Who translated the King James Authorized Version? Rosicrucians and Freemasons. Yeah, and once you understand, wait a minute, the Bible is a Masonic book. Of course it's a Masonic book. How many people know that these symbols in Islam are taken directly out of the Old Testament Bible? And that Mecca is the black cube of Freemasonry. Mecca is a black square. Look it up. The planet Saturn. Saturn was referred to as the black cube. And the more they pray, the more blood is spilled. The more violence and bloodshed builds each day. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And the more they pray, the worse it gets. And Christians all over the world are praying to God's Son, the light of the world. And they have no idea what they're praying to. They have no concept of the world, of what they're praying to. And consequently, all of the evil is winning. Good people are losing. Knights Templars, Masonic, Freemasons are winning. They're controlling the world. Why? Because we're worshiping the wrong God. Because we don't understand what the symbols mean. Because we walk right past the truth sitting right in front of us and end up worshiping something that the Knights Templars have given us to worship. And therefore, we haven't got the faintest idea in the world what's going on. Who translated the King James? So consequently, Jehovah's Witnesses, like most cults, and they are, and incidentally, they are referred to as York Rite cults in Masonry. York Rite cults. This is why the Watchtower Society moved to New York. New York is the old York, England, and the presence of the Knights Templars of old York, England moved into America and called it New York. And they called New York the Empire State. Why? Because it's the state of the New York Rite Masonic Empire coming out of York, England, and establishing their filthy, dirty system in our beloved country in New York. There is nothing dirtier or filthier on the earth, in my present opinion, than New York City. It's only taught by the Vatican. Somebody needs to do their homework. Charles Taze Russell was financed out of London, England. The money was coming out of MI5 and MI6, the Mormon Church, Seventh-day Adventist, Worldwide Church of God. All of these are referred to as York Rite cults, financed, organized, directed out of London. Something's going on here.
They worshipped a deity called Moloch or Molech. It was a deity that was an aspect of Nimrod. It keeps coming up everywhere, of course. And what they used to do is sacrifice children to Moloch or Molech. They put them through the fire. And in the Old Testament, you see prophets condemning the people for putting their children through the fire to Moloch or Molech. When I've talked to contacts, therapists and what have you around the world who work with satanically abused people, what those people tell them is that, again, when they're sacrificing children, the deity in the modern world today that they use to sacrifice them to is Moloch or Molech. Same seamless stream. So the question comes in relation to this: how do they symbolize Moloch or Molech, this deity to which they sacrifice children? They do it, symbolize him as an owl. They worshipped a deity called Moloch or Molech.
The whole idea of these big wars is a joke. It's a setup, it's a game that's played to play off the opposites against each other in the hopes of synthesizing a new world order where we all kind of synthesize. That's why Democrat and Republican is a joke, because what they ultimately want is a racist society. They're very racist, and they're interested in a new world order which is run by a Luciferian philosophy. Now, this is very disturbing sounding stuff, but they've been persecuted for thousands and thousands of years by various people. Nobody persecuted them as badly as the Roman government through the Catholic Christian Church. They were tortured, they were killed, so they came to the natural conclusion. You can understand anybody would have done this under the circumstances. What do you think they would choose? They would say, okay, whatever God these guys think is God, that's not the right one, because he's stringing us out on the rack, he's torturing us, he's killing us. Therefore, whoever the Christian church says is the bad guy is the good guy. Okay, wait a minute. Lucifer is the brightest light, the brightest angel in heaven, right? And he's the one that got tossed out of heaven. Well, maybe he got tossed out of heaven because he was too cool, right? Because everybody else in there was a bunch of corrupt shysters. Well, this is actually what the most powerful people in the world think. And they are a fundamentalist religion just like any of the others. They still believe this weird stuff. They follow these teachings. They actually buy into this, okay? The whole idea of these big wars is a joke. It's a setup. It's a game that's played There's a basic New World Order, an Illuminati, if you will, which is primarily run by the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds financed Stalin and the takeover of Russia, the Bolshevik Revolution, 1917. They have financed the French Revolution. They financed World War II. They financed Hitler, and they were financing the U.S. So they believe in order out of chaos. You fund both sides of a war, and whichever side wins, you got their vote because you're their paymaster. You've given them their money. You control their financial supply, which means you can control the government. Okay? And you profit no matter what. Right. And also what happens is that the war stimulates the economy, so you get much more infrastructure and much more buildings coming out of it. That's why, for example, Ford Motor Company was building tank plants in Germany, which is why Hitler's Wehrmacht had the tanks. It was from Ford. When American bombers bombed Ford's tank plants in Germany, Ford personally repaid Hitler so he could rebuild the tank plants faster. Boeing actually was shipping, this has been documented, was shipping passenger airliners to South America, which were then sent to Africa, where they ripped the seats out and turned them into Hitler's bomber fleet. That was Boeing. These are American corporations. The whole idea of these big wars is a joke. There's a basic New World Order, an Illuminati, if you will.
There's nothing holy in Israel. Nothing. There's nothing holy in the Vatican. There is nothing holy in Salt Lake City. There's nothing holy in religion, period. If you go back and look at the history of the Rothschilds, you will find that Rothschild represented the Vatican. He was dealing for the Vatican. He was a Vatican banker appointed by the Vatican to deal for them, so that the Catholic Church would never be involved in all that terrible stuff going on in banking. We'll let the Jew do it. Then, of course, if something comes out, well, it's Jewish, obviously. No, it's your money that he was handling. There's a Masonic order in Europe called Propaganda Due. It's called P2. Jesuits, Opus Dei, Knights of Malta, Masonic order are connected directly to something called Propaganda Due, P2 Lodge of Freemasonry. P2 Lodge of Freemasonry is world famous to people who do research into criminal organizations, underworld organizations, drugs, human trafficking, pornography, violence, and it's all being orchestrated out of the Holy Father and Rome. There's nothing holy in Israel. Nothing. But I believe today the most serious evil organization on the there's nothing but I believe today the most serious evil organization on the face of the earth is the Vatican. You're talking the Knights of Malta, which gave us the 6 men who founded the CIA in America, were all Catholics, members of the Knights of Malta. When you begin to look at the banking fraternities in America, like the Bank of America, Union Bank in California, all of these people who founded these banks and today are running the banking establishment are all Knights of Malta, Catholic Masonry. All the kings and rulers in Europe rule by the divine right. It's called the divine right of kings. What are you talking about? Who represents divine to give the king the right? The Pope. The Pope appoints certain families to be over the French. The Pope appoints certain people to be over the Germans and over the British. And so by divine right. Why? Because the Pope represents God. And the Pope says that this family is holy and that they should rule. And therefore they can now say they rule by divine right. But I believe today the most serious evil.
Masons are like homosexuals. They can't reproduce themselves naturally. They can only, amen, they can only recruit. You know, think of that. That's the way with every cult. If you know someone who's a Mason, or if you yourself are a Mason, realize that when you kneel at the altar of Masonry as an entered apprentice, and you take that oath, you are adopted into the family of Lucifer at that moment. Now, you don't probably know that. I did, but most people don't even know that. And as a result, if you're a Christian, and mind you, there are pastors that are doing this. There are deacons that are doing this. There are countless Christian lay people that are doing this. You cannot serve two masters. And if you understood the profound relationship between witchcraft and Freemasonry, you would know what that cord, that cable tow meant, because they've got a rope around their neck. And what that means in witchcraft and the occult is that is a symbol of the umbilical cord of the mother goddess, the queen of heaven, linking her to her hidden child. So this guy has just been born again by the queen of hell, the consort of Lucifer. Every Mason has this happen to them. And they don't understand the dynamics.
But I believe
Masons are like, I had to become a Freemason because you can't get involved in Satanism on the hardcore level without first being a Freemason. That was my official shrine portrait, which they took as part of my initiation. I was ready to become involved in hardcore Satanism. What did that mean? Well, that meant I had to sell my soul to the devil. I had to sign my name on the contract in blood. I had to sign my name in the black book. You gotta understand something. The satanic doctrine here is that hell is not what we believe it is, or what the Bible teaches it is. The satanic doctrine is that hell is this incredible party. It's like a nonstop, all eternity orgy. So you're smoking dope, you're fornicating your brains out, you're listening to rock and roll through all eternity. And it's party hardy time. Before I could get onto the priesthood of Satanism, excuse me, I had to get 7 people to sell our souls to the devil. The other thing I had to do, and this might astonish some of you, is I had to become a Catholic priest. I had to go back to my original vocation, because you cannot be a satanic priest unless, first of all, you're a Catholic priest. And if that surprises you, I just suggest that you go and you read some of the medieval literature. You'll see that that is in fact the case. I had to become a Freemason because you can't get involved in Satanism.
13 is an unlucky number, we're told.
That's a satanic number.
Well, but it's called an unlucky number because originally it dealt with Jesus and his 12. Jesus and the 12 make the 13, upon which a new order of life would be established on earth. The conspirators have then seized upon this term of the 13, Jesus plus the 12, and have begun to build on that a new world order. You had better look at the idea of why an Egyptian pyramid is on an American dollar bill.
Well, it's a symbol of slavery, Jordan, because that pyramid was put together with slave labor.
Right, but it was also one of the greatest bricklaying projects the world has ever known. And bricklayers are referred to as brick masons. So it is a symbol of the Masonic orders of the world.
That makes sense.
And it is a very powerful symbol that has been used by the ancient secret societies. And I am here to tell you that that pyramid called Cheops Pyramid is a very important symbol to the world Illuminati.
And they're constructing the Illuminati Luxor up in Las Vegas.
No, I understand.
On Las Vegas Boulevard. I was up there with our cameraman here. And is that a new hotel? A new hotel, 33 stories. I mean, with the capstone. What's the significance of 33, Anthony? Well, I think Jordan would be better able to answer that.
13 is an unlucky number, we're told.
One of the most important symbols of the ancient Druidic religion, the ancient Druids, was the magic wand. Merlin the magician with his magic wand. Remember Mickey Mouse with his magic wand? Magic wands were always made out of wood of a holly tree. It was made out of Hollywood. They're still doing their magic in Hollywood, and we don't even understand what the word means. Hollywood is the wood of a holly tree. Holly is important to the Celtic Druids at Christmas time. Hollywood. The magic of Hollywood. It's Druidic, Jewish, Masonic symbolism. And then you begin to understand why MGM, finally it begins to dawn on you, why MGM has the roaring lion. That's right, the roaring lion is the sun in the constellation that begins summer. Summer begins in Leo, the constellation of Leo, the lion of the tribe of Judah. The lion, logic alone should tell you that when Jews were being marched into concentration camps, they were praying obviously to their God for protection and for help. There was no help coming. Christians have been praying to God to help this nation, to protect their family, and evil grows and multiplies each day. And the more Christians pray, the more evil the pervasiveness becomes. And the Islamic belief, the holy city of Mecca, which is in Saudi Arabia, Mecca has a Masonic circle, and within the Masonic circle is a square, because you got to do everything on the square, remember. You have a town square, you have New York Square, you have Vatican Square, you have Red Square, you have all kinds of squares. Why? Because this is Masonic. And it goes all the way back into the ancient world, the terms and symbols. Again, the planet Saturn is called the Black Square. It's called the Dark Sun, the Black Sun. This is what the Nazis and the SS and the Gestapo wore black. The Nazi Party was probably the most glorious Saturnalian brotherhood we've ever seen. Nazis were heavy into the Saturnalian system of philosophy, war, destruction. Saturn is the god of this world. From that, we get the dark side of the Force, Darth Vader. Remember Darth Vader with his Nazi helmet speaking through the Masonic triangle? Somebody better do their homework. This stuff is fascinating when you get into it. And the Islamic...
It is not our government that's failing us. It's not the Constitution or the Bill of Rights that's a bad instrument. It is a group of men who belong to secret societies, who have infiltrated our society and our government at all levels and are destroying it and subverting it from within. And every member of naval intelligence that I knew who was an officer was a 32nd or a 33rd degree Freemason. And I asked my commanding officer at one point, I said, why are all you guys Masons? He said, Masons are used to keeping secrets. It's part of their fraternity. So if you want someone who already knows how to keep a secret, you Freemasons. Well, later on, I found out what the truth is. The truth is you're not going to be a naval intelligence officer unless you are a Freemason. Or a member of the Ancient Order of the Rose and Cross, but you have to be high degrees for that. I think the reason I was selected as a enlisted man is because I belonged to the Demolay Society, which is why, as a teenager, that's sort of the first level of Freemasonry. That's how they recruit teenagers and indoctrinate them into their principles so that they go right into Freemasonry when they become an adult. It is not our government that's failing us. It's not the...
According to the reference works, there is a little spiritual entity that guides the world of Freemasonry, and they call him Yoda. And in the reference works, you'll see this little creature with the pointed ears, and he's called Yota. Yota goes back to Judah, which goes back into British Israel World Freemasonry, going back to the time of the founding of England, and that's why they're today called British. The British, it's a very big difference between being English and British. Brit is Hebrew for contract or a covenant, and ish means man in Hebrew. Therefore, British is the covenant man or man of the new covenant.
We're talking about Star Wars.
So we're talking about Star Wars. We're talking about
the evil empire.
The Empire Strikes Back. And with the Empire striking back, New York is the Empire State. We're talking about the new empire of New World, America, striking back at Europe in 2 world wars to overthrow the old Roman dynasties in Europe to take over the world. So according to the reference works, there is a little...
It is not our government that's failing us. It's not the Constitution.
Okay. I guess I gave you guys a mouthful there. I know I gave you guys a mouthful there. You guys are going to have to sit down and probably rewind this and look at the knowledge in some more detail. But I wanted to share all of that with you to let you understand that we operate still under the Greco-Roman system, particularly the Western world, and that we live under a demonic system. a Masonic demonic system. The people who you call Jews, they're not Jews. The people who are Jews, they're not called Jews. Everything's back for fronted. And it's weird watching people get persecuted for demonic reasons. But the take-home message is order in chaos. It looks like America right now is in chaotic situations. In my country, the crime gets out of control. That is something systematic. The first prime minister of my country was the head of the Rosicrucians, another secret order. And my country has problems with crime all the time, and that's by design. And anybody with a little bit of common sense realizes the people at the top get away with all kinds of criminal acts. The people at the bottom, they're the ones prosecuted. But the people at the bottom work for the people at the top. So when the people at the top want, an incident to happen to deflect from certain laws they're making, draconian laws, they get the people at the bottom to do their bidding. And then they can implement other draconian laws. I say all of this so that you have an awareness of how this world works, how the people who have made it, that is to say, the people who have gotten into a certain economic class, they only stay there or exist in the world with influence and power if they join up with these satanic secret orders. All the tops of your religious organizations, all the top people in your religious organizations, the top people in your government, the top people in the national security, all the top people, they're in the same club. That includes Donald Trump. That includes all of those people in Congress. And just because they say they worship or Christian or Muslim or whatever doesn't mean that at the top they don't worship directly Satan. Now, who is Satan? This is where Zack Snyder and all these other people, we started to do crossovers. They talk about aliens. Aliens are really demons. Why did I say that? Well, the aliens that supposedly these people get information from, they exchange the information for lives. You heard about child trafficking, you heard about child sacrifice. This is a real thing. In my country, particularly within the Indo community, they sacrifice their children to get leverage and power. And you heard them, break down how that happens. It's because of the adrenal cortex that they feed off of these people. And they're able to get their power. Back in the day, they said these lies about the Caribs and the Arawaks, how they would devour the brains of people and stuff like that in the Caribbean to take their souls and to take their powers. Well, it's kind of the same thing these demonic people do. And this is what the aliens do as well. So they're not up to anything good. They're up to evil. And if they're evil, they're demonic, no matter how you look at it. Saturn is Satan, for those of you who don't know. So I thought I'd share this information with you guys. I am Christ, I am disciple. I know it's a lot to process. In the short space of time I did give you guys, you see that Hollywood is simply a magic, right? The holly tree, right? The wand, the magic wand. Okay? It's all satanic. But I wanted to just share that with you guys before I get out of here. I am Christ, I am disciple. I hope you guys have a blessed day. I love you. How can we counter these things? Well, first of all, you need to love people around you. Love people around you. Where you can help out somebody in need. The world is changing. Very soon technology will take over. And once technology takes over, you will be redundant. And the next step is to get rid of you. We're already in slavery, when we conform to their will, and we do like good little slaves what they tell us to do. We conform, resist, respectfully, within your civil rights, disobey. Grace and peace to you all.